The Patriots blow what would have been their best all-around win of the season, losing 25-24 in the final seconds against Indianapolis Colts. We break it all down here on PatsCast. Welcome to PatsCast. I'm Brad Whitaker. The Patriots fall 25-24. They just could not stop the Colts there in the final seconds. And this is a tough podcast to do because I was going into this until the final seconds there with pretty much nothing but positive things to say about the Patriots today. Great game offensively. Very happy for the most part with the play calling from Alex Van Pelt. Perhaps Drake Maye's best game of the season. He did throw a pick, but I don't lay that on him too much. The defense, I was about ready to start calling for DeMarcus Covington's job after halftime, but they nearly pitch a shutout there in the second half, but the Colts get the ball with about 6 minutes left, chew up the remainder of the clock. A self-inflicted penalty there by Alex Austin late in the final seconds against Pittman, put the ball at the 20 with about 28 seconds left. Anthony Richardson eventually finds Pierce for a touchdown, and then instead of going for the game-tying PAT, the Colts elect to go for the two-point conversion. Richardson pounds it in right up the middle, makes it a 25-24 game with just 12 seconds left. Give the Patriots credit for somehow managing to get a 68-yard field goal for Joey Sly there at the end of the game. They threw a slant with 4 seconds left, called a timeout with 1 second left. Would have been the longest field goal ever, but Sly was about 3 yards too short. Good kick right down the middle, but the Patriots ultimately fall 25-24. A gutsy victory there by the Indianapolis Colts. And what I thought was a gutsy game overall for the Patriots, but you can't give up those late game touchdowns there, and I do put the blame there on DeMarcus Covington on that 2-point conversion because you have to think the Colts are going to run the ball with Anthony Richardson. They had a number of QB-designed runs to Richardson today. He ended up with 48 yards on the ground on 9 carries, and they just didn't have enough right down the middle of the field. The Colts spread their receivers wide. The Patriots did call a timeout. They saw what they were giving, but they were not prepared for the Richardson run there on the 2-point conversion, and just a tough loss ultimately because I think this offensively was a very encouraging game. So let's get to some of the silver linings because I don't actually have a ton of negatives except for that last drive of the game because even the defensive stuff, which was very worrisome late in the game, the Patriots made the right adjustments and held their own there until the last drive. So again, I mostly have silver linings coming out of this one, but just a gut-wrenching loss overall. But let me start off by saying I'm going to stop with the Alex Van Pelt, is he coming back, is he not, conversation. I already thought he was coming back. I already thought he perhaps earned it just because of the development of Drake Maye this season. But today, I thought the offense was fantastic. I thought the play calling, the early game script, as it's been the last couple of months, was stellar. But even the play calling that the AVP had to pull from his toolkit there in the second half, I thought that was, there were some things like the one Patriots 3 and out. They were a little too conservative there trying to run the clock. Didn't love that, but for the most part, very happy with the offensive play calling. Not predictable, not always running the ball on first down. Drake Maye, again, had a great game, about a 97 passer rating, 24 of 30 passing, so what is that, like 80% roughly? 238 yards overall, 222 of those came in the air, had a good scramble at one point where Drake Maye rushed the ball for 41 yards. So we had 238 yards passing, but yeah, I'm looking at the stats here. But overall, really good game for Drake Maye. The Colts pretty much played zone the entire game there, and give Maye a lot of credit. The 2 plays in the first half where they ran man, he had that 41-yard carry, and then he also had a big passing throw against man-to-man coverage. And that really says that teams are starting to respect the Patriots offense, the fact that they're running zone because they don't exactly have receivers other than maybe Demario Douglas who can separate out there. But even with little separation, Maye was able to make some spectacular tight window throws, especially to guys like Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, made a few tight windows to Kayshon Boutte. Henry and Hooper led the Patriots in terms of yards. Henry had another great game, 7 catches for 75 yards. Austin Hooper, really hope he's back next season. He's on a 1-year contract, was second with 42 yards. Kayshon Boutte had a decent game, 41 yards on 3 catches. They worked Kendrick Bourne in there, had a few big plays himself. Again, Jalen Polk did absolutely nothing. For the most part, the Colts were able to contain Demario Douglas, but Patriots had a very balanced attack. Antonio Gibson, want to see him worked in there a lot more. We thought of him as kind of a third down pass-catching back. We knew he could run the ball on the ground, had a lot of issues in Washington last year with fumbles, but that really hasn't been an issue this season. He had 62 yards on 7 carries. Ramondre had 18 carries, 73 yards. So Gibson, when he was in there, was much better. Averaged almost 9 yards a carry, Antonio Gibson did. And Stevenson did put the ball on the ground once, did get it back. Got to work on that, although he's been better. I don't think he's fumbled since week 4 or 5. But for the most part, the Patriots took care of the football. They did have that one interception Drake Maye threw to Hunter Henry in the end zone. Henry bobbled it. I think the throw could have been a little bit better. It might have, a couple inches more in front of Henry. It probably would have been a touchdown or put the ball at the 1-yard line, but still a catchable ball. I put the blame on Henry there. He did bobble it a little bit. Ended up in the Colts defender's hand, and I think that was ultimately the story of the game. I'm happy with the offensive play calling, certainly happy with Drake Maye's performance, happy with the running game, but the red zone execution was the real issue, especially there in the first half. The Patriots, once again, offensive line penalties in the early portion of the game. The first half, they had 5 holding calls. I think, who was it? Layden Robinson, who started at left guard for the first time this season, he had a couple of them. Lowe had one. DeMontre Jacobs had one. And that prevented a lot of potential touchdown scoring drives for the Patriots, and that's ultimately the reason they lost this game, is they had to settle for field goals. Joey Slye missed a bad field goal at the end of the first half that would have given the Patriots enough to earn the victory here today. So that wasn't great, but overall, in the first half, Patriots should have had at least a couple more touchdowns. This should have been a 36-point affair from New England today. Instead, they only put up 24 points in a game where it should have been between 30 and 40 points. So that was a bit disappointing. Patriots were scoreless in the third quarter, but they did a good job on that last scoring drive in the fourth quarter to take the lead, converted on the 2-point conversion. But overall, pretty happy with the offense, pretty happy with Alex Van Pelt. Offensive line, I don't know if you can coach the holding calls. There's only so much you can do there. Telling your players, hey, stop holding, only goes so far, right? So am I going to blame Alex Van Pelt or Gerard Mayo for all these holding calls? No. I mean, it's just Patriots have an inferior offensive line, and because of that, they get a little bit desperate, and they get all these holding penalties. So hopefully if they can add some talent there on that O-line in the offseason, that will be mitigated a little bit, but really prevented the Patriots from having a few more touchdowns. Drake Maye did bail them out a couple of times after those holding penalties, though, on a 2nd and 15, and then again on a 2nd and 19. We haven't had a quarterback in New England since Brady that could do that, and Brady didn't do it with his legs. He did it just with his instincts and his brain. But Drake Maye is able to convert on 2nd and long, 3rd and long, and you might as well have just punted it in those situations when you had Mac Jones and Cam Newton out there. So, look, we got the quarterback. Very happy. Drake Maye was under pressure quite a bit today, had 4 sacks, but really happy with the offensive scheme. I complained quite a bit the last couple of weeks where it looked like Patriots, Alex Van Pelt, was abandoning the short game. They were trying to do that West Coast stuff where it depended on bootlegs and Drake Maye holding onto the football too long and able to take shots downfield. They didn't do that today. Instead, they had the short game. They went against the Colts in zone almost the entire game, and Drake Maye just picked it apart and got rid of the football very quickly, and that's what you have to do with this offensive line. Again, they allowed 4 sacks. Could have been a lot worse. Drake Maye really did an excellent job getting rid of the football quickly, making tight window throws against some of that soft zone that he was going against. And overall, you couldn't be happier with the tight ends. Like I said, Hunter Henry, leading receiver for the Patriots today. Austin Hooper, big contributor. He had a touchdown. Even Jaheim Bell was in there and threw a few good blocks. I really hope that is the unit that is back next season. Bring back Austin Hooper on a 2-year contract. You know, you have Hunter Henry for at least, I think, 3 more seasons. You have Jaheim Bell. You hope he develops a little bit. But that is the bread and butter of that offense, and it gives Drake Maye quick opportunities to get rid of the football, especially going against this type of zone defense. But he did a really excellent job there, just getting rid of the football. Looks like a real veteran. Pre-snap, moving the tight ends around, making it easier on run plays for Ramondre and Antonio Gibson. And that's part of the reason they both had big games on the ground. So that was really good to see. The defense, like I said, really struggled early on. I thought they made great second half adjustments until that final drive where they shot themselves in the foot a few too many times. Alex Austin was a big part of that with the DPI call. I think it was the right call there. But overall, Alex Austin had an excellent game. Christian Gonzalez had an excellent game. Had an interception where he undercutted the route at one point. Marcus Jones made a few good defensive plays against A.D. Mitchell. Patriots did give up 144 yards on the ground, though, once again. The majority of that came in the first half. 48 of that came from Anthony Richardson, so they almost gave up 196 yards total on 25 carries from Jonathan Taylor. For the most part, they looked like they did against Miami last week against the run in the second half. I think Indy probably made a mistake offensively not running the ball quite as much, especially on that final drive of the game where they were bailed out by defensive penalties from the Patriots. I thought they probably should have just run it a lot more in the second half, and it could have looked a lot worse in terms of the statistics for the Patriots' run defense. But got to give credit where credit is due, and they were able to stop the run for the most part there in the second half. But really gutsy performance there by the Indianapolis Colts and a gutsy play call to go for 2 late in the game. Again, I'm not happy overall with DeMarcus Covington throughout the season, but seeing the second half adjustments, which we really haven't seen much on the defensive side of the football this season, was encouraging, and it certainly helped having Jabril Peppers out there, made some big plays, had a big tackle on Anthony Richardson late in the game. Unfortunately, Richardson was able to make plays there in the final seconds, but I don't know. I mean, do I chalk this up as a moral victory? No, because it was a gut-wrenching loss. When all's said and done, it might be a good thing. The Patriots, it's going to improve their draft position. We know they're not going to the playoffs this year. I thought they showed a lot today that they didn't show last week. I still think they're kind of getting better. Maybe you throw out the Miami game, and if you do that, the last month and a half has looked like an improvement. I think the defense, the secondary looked like they were regressing, but they were much better in the second half. The run defense was much better in the second half. It was just a gutsy drive there by the Colts late in the game. So I think everyone's going to be back. I really do. I mean, Jerron Mayo is going to get a second chance, certainly. A victory would have been huge today because you would have had just as many wins as the Patriots had last year in Belichick's final year. And I don't think they're winning a game the rest of the season. They have a brutal schedule the rest of the way. The Arizona Cardinals, who are fighting for the top team in that NFC West division. Patriots have a bye this week, but then they have to go on the road against Arizona. That's a tough matchup. You have to play the Bills twice more. And then you have the Chargers coming to Foxborough the second to last week of the season. Hard to see the Patriots winning any of these games. So hopefully we can have a few more moral victories. I'm not calling this a moral victory because this was a winnable game against a beatable team, but you need to see more growth, especially on the defensive side of the football. I think the offense, I think this is a real NFL offense now. They need more weapons. Certainly they need help on that offensive line, but Alex Van Pelt has figured out ways to scheme it up and make life a little bit easier for Drake Maye, and Drake Maye certainly been able to get rid of the football quickly. And as long as they stick to similar offensive schemes the final 4 weeks of the season, again, I'm not saying they're gonna win those games, but they should be able to put 20-plus points on the board in each of the final 4 games, and it will be a disappointment if they're not able to do so. But we really need to see improvements on the defensive side of the football. Again, the second half was better today, but you knew Anthony Richardson was going to run it there on that 2-point conversion, and it doesn't look like the Patriots compensated for that. Good job by the Colts there, spreading their receivers wide, stacking them on the far right side, really spreading out the Patriots defense and creating those opportunities there for Richardson. But the Patriots, you go man against the receivers and you stack the box there and hope you can stop Richardson that way, and it didn't look like that's what they did. The one guy in the hot seat still perhaps is DeMarcus Covington. I'm not sure he would have survived the bye week had they looked the same way in the second half they did in the first half. He'll probably coach the rest of the season there, but he's certainly still on the hot seat, and that's where we need to see improvements. And you can't let Gerard Mayo off the hook. I guarantee he's going to be back next season, but he is a defensive-minded head coach. He was a Pro Bowl defensive player, a Super Bowl champion. DeMarcus Covington has coached the linebacker position. They need to do a better job still at stopping the run. Sometimes these teams that they're going against are gifting them these passes because the Patriots do for the most part. I know they're a bit undersized with Marcus and Jonathan Jones, but they have a pretty good secondary. Teams need to run the ball against the Patriots more, and for some reason they're not doing it. I think the Colts made some mistakes there in the second half. I think they could have perhaps won this game by a much wider margin had they continued to run the football. That's where we still need to see improvements from the Patriots. I think they need to be a little bit more conservative on defense too. I mean, some of these aggressive play calls by DeMarcus Covington to generate pressure just are not working. The Patriots really didn't get a ton of pressure on Anthony Richardson. I think they did a little bit there where they rushed him a bit in the third quarter and early in the fourth quarter, but didn't get a single sack all game. Really, it was the secondary that put them back into this game with the 2 interceptions. And yeah, we just need to see more from this defense because that was supposed to be the strength of this team. And now this is an offensive team with the lack of weapons, with the worst offensive line in the league. They have a good offense. I think it's safe to say that at this point. And that's why Alex Van Pelt deserves to be back. And if he does have some weapons out there, I'm excited to see what they can do next season, especially if they can buy Drake Maye a little bit more time behind that offensive line. But I think you need a veteran defensive play caller in there. You're not getting Brian Flores back, unfortunately. I think that was a missed opportunity this offseason. As I've said on the podcast before, what's Wade Phillips doing? He's coaching here in San Antonio in the UFL. Maybe give him a call. Have him work with Mayo for a year or two. Get a veteran defensive play caller who is able to generate a lot of pressure with these complex defensive schemes. I think someone like that is worth giving a phone call to. But right now, I think Gerard Mayo is certainly going to buy another year. DeMarcus Covington will ultimately be the scapegoat, and Alex Van Pelt is safe just because the offense does seem to be getting better. But let me know if you disagree in the comments below. Do you think we need a major overhaul to the coaching staff, or are you as encouraged as I am with the Patriots offense, considering their lack of protection and their lack of weapons? Let me know what you would like to see happen with the coaching staff in the comments below. And also, do you see this as a moral victory? Ultimately, like I said, this is a good thing. It helps the Patriots in their draft position, but you want to see them at least get to 4 wins after a 4-win season last year. And fortunately, I think this team is going to finish 3-14 with the remaining schedule. But let me know if you disagree in the comments below. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, or subscribe if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And we'll see you again throughout the week. Season off track, Gibson ran hard, Madre found his stride.